there's been some clear-cut conflict between the progressive grassroots base on a number of issues and decisions that you've made or positions that you've taken. Just the estate tax, repealing the estate tax, abuser fees in the transportation package, rail to Dulles. There's a big progressive goal to make it go under. It's not over till it's under. The Wise Power Plant, we talked about stem cells. The list goes on and on and on. But there's obviously been a good deal of friction. And first I wanted to ask you, I have two questions on this.
Sure.
First I wanted to ask you how you feel about that friction and how progressives can work better with your administration to be more impactful in influencing the decisions made.
Yeah, I kind of have a different perspective on it. So, and that is, it begins with who are the progressives in Virginia? Because I don't really feel tension with progressives in Virginia, but I would say progressives in Virginia encompass a lot of groups. And I feel like I have really good ties with progressives. So I was a civil rights lawyer, and folks who care deeply about civil rights issues, inclusion, diversity, you know, standing up in my first executive order and making it, you know, wrong in state government to discriminate on the basis of sexual orientation. I think there's a lot of folks in the progressive community who care deeply about these diversity and inclusion issues, and I got great ties with them. One of the probably most significant parts of the Democratic progressive constituency is labor. I got great ties with labor, really strong relationships with labor. New Americans are increasingly a really strong part of the Virginia progressive base. I got great ties with the Latino community, especially because I'm fluent in Spanish, but other parts of the New American community too. And so I don't really feel like I've got tension with progressives. I do feel like, are there issues on which some in the progressive community have disagreed with me? Sure. But, you know, they like the fact that I've been fighting to ban smoking in restaurants. They like the fact that I veto every piece of death penalty expansion legislation that comes to my desk. They like the fact that I haven't been, you know, in the pocket of the NRA, for example, which, you know, a lot of people feel like they need to make a deal and not make the NRA mad. I've not had any difficulty doing what I thought was right, always consistent with the Second Amendment, but if I get bad gun legislation on my desk, I'm going to veto it, and I've done that on a number of instances. So I don't really feel tension with the progressive community at all. The main elements of the progressive community have been really supportive of me, and you know, both personally I know it, and I also know it from polling. Have there been issues on which there have been disagreements? Sure. And I learned early when I was, you know, probably about a month after my election to Richmond City Council, I had the first vote where I had really good friends on both sides. And you know, there's that point in your life when you're in politics where you realize, wow, if I do what I think is right, I'm going to make friends mad. But you realize that there's no, you got to do that. If you're going to do what is right, you're going to make some people mad, and sometimes those people will be your friends. So just to, you know, take a couple of the examples that you mentioned. And then to answer your question, which was, how about ways to influence and dialogue? Estate tax. During my campaign, I said I was for repeal of the estate tax because a majority of states have repealed it. And once a majority of states have thrown it out, for competitiveness reasons, it's actually good for Virginia not to be in the minority, but be in the majority. I also had 4 Democratic senators for whom a repeal of the estate tax was helpful to them in their effort to beat off challengers and get reelected in '07. And my very strong goal has always been get some houses into our guys' hands. So was there disagreement about that? Absolutely. But it was not something I hid when I campaigned, and it was something that I thought did have a pretty good, it helped me preserve a couple of seats that could have been in jeopardy. Not that that would have been the only issue, but it helped me with my effort to take a Senate majority. Abuser fees. You know, that one was one, if I was writing a bill that was just transportation the Tim Kaine way, I wouldn't have done it. But I had 2 Republican houses, and I was trying to find, you know, a strategy to find transportation investments. And again, as I've said, we were able to get money for rail and public transit and bonds that we're going to start spending on roads. But that was a piece that the Republicans had passed a number of times. And so that was, let's try to find compromise here. And when the bill came to me with that, it was in it, I didn't veto it. I didn't take it out. And I understand that people didn't like it. But again, that was, I'm trying to bring people together and trying to find results. So I can understand why people didn't like it. the political dynamic of that whole transportation in '07 helped me win the Senate, helped me pick up a bunch of seats, helped others pick up a bunch of seats in the House. Whereas a big veto of a transportation bill would have been, wow, the Democratic governor killed the Republican transportation bill. I didn't think that was going to be a helpful narrative going into an election where I was trying to win seats for Dems. Stem cells, I'm a big promoter of stem cell research that is placental or adult stem cells. I certainly don't forbid or oppose stem cell research that's embryonic, but I just don't think that the state should be funding it. And you know, we haven't frankly had any real proposal to put state funding into embryonic stem cells anyway during the time I've been governor, so that might be a philosophical difference, but it's not really been a difference in policy. But you know, big picture, I'm a progressive, and the main kind of groups of the progressive community have been really supportive of me and continue to be. That doesn't mean that there haven't been times where there's been disagreement, and that's to be expected.
And then looking forward to 2009 and also to working with your successor, just how would you like for progressives to work with your administration in order to advocate for positions that we feel strongly about?
I think I don't have any real suggested improvements. I think you guys do a good job. You know, the way I run my administration is I do tons of town hall meetings. I mean, every year I do 25 or 30 town hall meetings. So I get out with folks all the time. And bloggers and progressives come to town hall meetings just like everybody else. And then I have a very good team, both in my PAC and in the governor's office, that is talking to constituency groups all the time. And I think, again, you know, things like smoking or vetoing the death penalty expansion bills or some of the things we've done have been directly in response to dialogue we've had with progressive groups. But you know, any individual or group, you know, would have to, I guess, just kind of understand that at the end of the day, I got to do what I think is right, and I'm not in this to win friends, and I'm not in it to be popular, but I'm in it to do what I think is right. What I think is right after being informed by people. I listen to everybody and do my own research, but then once I make up my mind, you know, I feel like, you know, I'm in this to make up my mind and then make the best decision I can. I think in terms of, you know, the kind of progressives, I mean, I think the net roots, I think blogs are hugely important. I think engagement in, you know, in these local races is great. I think if there's one thing I'm really proud of kind of on the politics side, I think, you know, I mean, I came in with 2 Republican senators, and I'm going to leave with 2 Democratic senators. I came in with a majority of my House delegation being Republican, a majority is now Democratic. We hadn't gone for a Democrat in 44 years for president. The guy that I picked early that a lot of people said couldn't win, we made it happen on the primary day, and then in the general election, taking the state Senate back. And you know, who knows, '09 might have more good news for us. And we've been working together to do that. The progressives have been hugely helpful in those races, hugely helpful. And so we just got to keep, you know, keep at it. And the nice thing about Virginia is every year gives us a new chance, right? Because there's always an election in November, so it gives us a new chance to take what we've done and then get better at it.